Hey everybody, this is Tim with gymcrafter.com, and today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite parts of my gym. There's a lot of things I really like about my gym. I love my rack and my bar, my weights, and pretty much everything about my gym. I put a lot of thought into it, and I really enjoy how it came out. However, there's one thing that I think a lot of people overlook that's really one of my favorite parts, and that's what's below me on the floor. So, unlike what a lot of people might expect, I didn't put horse stall mats down there. So when I put my flooring in, I recorded some video to explain why I didn't use those mats, what I went with, and how to install it. So let's take a look at flooring. So there's a bunch of benefits to putting a great floor in your home gym. It protects the floor, it protects you, it protects your equipment, and in my case, being that my gym's here in the garage, it keeps the place a little bit warmer, which is a lot more comfortable for me in the winter. I live right here by Chicago, and it gets real cold here in the winter time, and it's about to be winter as I'm recording this video, so getting a good solid floor under my feet is going to be important. When I first started researching what flooring to put in my gym, it seemed like the verdict was unanimous. Almost everywhere I looked, they said to use something called horse stall mats. Everybody said go down to your local Tractor Supply store, buy these big ass horse stall mats, put them in your gym, they don't cost a lot, and there you go. But the only benefit I kept hearing were that they were cheap. So I started digging, were there any other benefits to horse stall mats? And what I found was there weren't. And in fact, what I found was there were a lot of drawbacks. So here's 4 drawbacks to using horse stall mats, and really in the end, why I decided not to use them. All right, number 1, they stink. If you haven't smelled a horse stall mat, you're not missing out on anything. When I went to the store to check these things out, I smelled them long before I saw them. So I started doing a little bit of research into what that smell was, and it wasn't just bad smell. It's actually toxic gases that are off-gassing from the very low quality crumb rubber used to make horse stall mats. Keep in mind, these things are made to go in well-ventilated barns and to be used for horses. They're not meant to be going in our garages or our basements where there's no ventilation, and it's actually people who are breathing the fumes. Strike 1 against the horse stall mat. So a lot of people knew that they smelled bad, and they had a solution. I was supposed to leave these things out in the sun for literally months so that the toxic gases and smell could leave the horse stall mat. I'm building my gym now. I don't have months to leave these things out in the sun, nor do I have some place to leave them out in the sun. So, strike 2. But maybe the cost savings would be worth it. So I went a couple places that actually had horse stall mats installed to see if I liked them. And I didn't. One of the first things I noticed, there were these big gaps as they laid next to each other. They didn't line up real well next to each other. So as you're lifting, your feet could be on these cracks and lines, and well, it might not make a functional difference. It made a huge difference to me in my head. It just bothered me. It was weird to stand on things where they were uneven, and they were uneven. Some horse stall mats were thicker than others, so they didn't meet up real well. And in fact, I stumbled across the gap a couple of times. So when you're dealing with something that's under your feet as you're lifting weights and you want it to be safe, you really want a floor that's nice and smooth and clean with no seams or gaps. And the horse stall mats just didn't do that. It was strike 3. One of the places that I went and looked was a CrossFit box that had been around for a while. I know a lot of people say, hey, if they're not good to use, why are they in a whole bunch of CrossFit boxes? Well, the answer is they're cheap, and CrossFit boxes don't make a lot of money, so I can't blame them for putting a less expensive option on their floor. But when I went to this particular box, what I noticed is that the mats that had been there for a while, on the edges and the corners, they were actually kind of peeling up and drying out, and they were actually kind of curling. So over time, they didn't settle in, they didn't kind of get closer together, they actually got worse. And again, when you got weight and you're carrying a loaded bar or doing a carry, or you're walking across the floor, you don't want to have to worry about tripping over your floor. Strike 4. So, took all that together and I decided to look further. And where I decided to look was, what do professional commercial gyms use? And also, what do flooring companies recommend? I figured those 2 places would have a really good idea of what I should use in my gym. So I'm kind of excited to get this floor in. I've already ordered it, it's already here, it's ready to go in. And I kind of want to show you what it looks like when it's done. So I'm going to skip to what I actually am going to use. But if you want a complete guide, I put together a really nice article over at gymcrafter.com/flooring. And go check that out. I've written a complete guide on everything that you have as an option for flooring, what each option is good for, when you would want to use it, when you wouldn't want to use it. So if you're building your home gym and you're not sure what to use, check that out, jimcrafter.com/flooring, and you can see the entire list of what I had to pick from and eventually what I chose. All right, so here's what I chose to go with. What I went with was 8mm thick. Now, a lot of people will tell you to use the horse stall mats because they're 3/4 of an inch thick, and actually I don't think that's a good idea. Number one, those things bounce, so when you drop your weights, you get a lot more bounce on a 3/4 inch floor than you do on an 8mm floor. 8mm, also another popular thickness is 3/8 of an inch. This is thick enough to protect your floor, it's thick enough to protect your equipment, but it's not too thick to cause things to bounce unsafely back up at you. And that's a big concern when you're putting in rubber flooring because you don't want a lot of bounce. So 8mm is great. These are 2x2 tiles, and what you'll see is this particular piece is an edge piece. So there's a flat edge, and then you've got your interlocking pieces right here. So what's real nice about these is if you order them right, you'll have a completely flat edge all the way around the outside perimeter, and then the insides lock together real nicely. And you'll see once these are installed how nicely they go together. There's no ridges, there's no seams, there's no parts that curl up, there's nothing you're going to trip over. And then I went with black with some nice blue flecks in it. There's a lot of different color choices, so I know I've seen some really cool home gyms out there that have some cool colorways in them and everything matches, and I think this is going to look nice in my gym, but you've got all different color choices. You've got tan and green and yellow and gray and all kinds of cool stuff to pick from. So let's go ahead and get this flooring in. I've got about 25 or 30 tiles to lay and show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so before I get rolling here, I want to show you all how these come in. So you basically order 3 pieces. This is a centerpiece, and then you've got edge pieces, and then you've got corner pieces. So between those 3 shapes, you can literally craft kind of any shape that you want out of your floor, whether it's a square, a rectangle, or kind of anything you want really. So the way these go together is you just kind of line them up, and see if I can do this with one hand here. And what I really like is two-handed, these go together pretty easily. So one-handed with the camera in my hand, not so much, but get this here, and what you'll see, once it's together, you literally can't see where the pieces join together. It's one continuous piece of floor. And for safety and for looks, that's a huge deal. So again, big advantages over stall mats. These things don't smell really at all. They're going together great. They're not heavy and unwieldy like the mats are. And I really think it's going to look great once it's done. So I'll pop this off for now, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. All right, so the floor's about halfway in. It's going in pretty easily, but I did want to give y'all one tip in case anybody's doing this. What I found is about 2 tiles in, pushing these puzzle pieces together, and see how nice together they go? I mean, you can't even see them. It's awesome. But pushing them together, a little tiring. So what I did was I pulled out the rubber mallet. That does a great job. So that's a whole heck of a lot easier. So if any of you are installing these things yourself, that's one little tip. Get yourself a mallet to put them in. And I'm going to knock out the rest of this floor. All right, so the main floor is in and came out great. It's exactly what I wanted. A couple of things that I'll note for you if any of you are thinking about doing this. Number one, and I stole this idea from somebody else, is I cheated a little extra size. You can see I didn't lay it all the way up to the wall. And it probably would have looked cool if I'd done it all the way up against the wall, although I don't dislike how this looks. But I can pick up some extra room. There's nothing that's going to be sitting on the floor up against the wall there like that. So no reason for me to butt it up all the way against the wall, and that'll make it so that it actually comes out a little bit further and gets me a little bit more usable, workable room. All right, so floor's in. Real happy with how it came out. Looks great, went in real easy. Doesn't smell like horse stall mats in here, which I'm really happy about. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I know a lot of you out there have horse stall mats in your gym. You like them, you recommend them. They were a real inexpensive option for you, and honestly, they're better than nothing. Working out on hard cement floor, not a great idea. So getting something down is better than nothing. So if that's what's in the budget and that's what you got to use, just be aware going in of what the drawbacks are and know that for really not that much more, there's a much better option available in this type of flooring. So if you want to see what kind of flooring I use, I'm going to link it down below so you can check it out. You can get it on Amazon, ship it right to your door. It's pretty easy to figure out kind of how many of each piece that you need, and then go from there. So thanks for watching, and again, check it out, jimcrafter.com/flooring for the full article on everything that you can do. And that's it for now.